Join Boise State Public Radio for a concert with blues guitarist and vocalist Coco Montoya at the Treefort Music Hall in Boise, February 13th. This concert is in honor of longtime KBSU DJ Arthur Ballinger, who is retiring after 47 years. Doors at 6, concert at 7 on the 13th of February for a night with Coco Montoya at the Treefort Music Hall. Details at boisestatepublicradio.org.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. More Idaho Matters right now. Not long after Idaho Attorney General Raúl Labrador came into office in 2023, one of his attorneys resigned and got a payout of his unused vacation. He then came back to the office for a lower paying job. Now, this is not unusual. State employees who leave their jobs are allowed to take their remaining vacation hours as cash. And then some employees are hired back, often temporarily, to help train their replacements. However, Kyle Fonensteel with the Idaho Capital Sun reports what is unusual about this case is the amount of the payout. It is the sixth highest on recent record, and the amount of time between leaving one job and taking the next. So he's here today to tell us more about the state payout system and why this one in particular caught his attention. Kyle, nice to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me, Gemma.
Okay, so let's start with what happened in this case. Who was the attorney? What was his job? And when did he leave?
Yeah, so his name is Stephen Olson. He's been working at the Idaho Attorney General's office for over a decade now. For a long time, he was chief of the AG's office civil litigation division, which handles lawsuits that the state is involved in.
So then when did he leave his position, that position you just described?
So his last day as civil litigation division chief at the AG's office was March 3rd, 2023.
Okay. And he decided to take a vacation payout, correct?
Yeah.
And then he was rehired at the Attorney General's office. Now, we should note this was a completely different job, and my understanding is a different hourly rate. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so his last day as civil litigation division chief was a Friday. On a Saturday, the AG's office paid him for vacation leave he hadn't used. It was over $26,000, and this is a standard part in Idaho law. Idaho law entitles employees when they leave, though they can get a lump sum payment for all the unused vacation they haven't leaved. But the thing that makes this story as unusual is, so he left on a Friday in his role as civil litigation division chief, got that vacation payout on Saturday, and then the next Tuesday on March 7th, 2023, the office rehired him as a deputy attorney general representing the Idaho Transportation Department. That's a lower paying role than his last position as division chief.
So that was 4 days between the two jobs.
Depends on you count it. If you look at business days, it was a break of one business day. Monday was the only business day he wasn't working for the AG's office.
And you found out that this was the sixth largest vacation payout in the past few years. You said this was up a bit more than $26,000 for this vacation payout, which he is allowed by law to receive when he leaves the job. How exactly, though, Kyle, do these payouts work?
Yeah, so Idaho law outlines this kind of lump sum payment that employees can receive once they leave state service for all the vacation time they've earned but they haven't used. This is usually meant to pay employees for a benefit they've earned but haven't used once they stop working for the state or that specific state agency. This Attorney General's office attorney got the sixth largest vacation payout of all Idaho state government employees recently. That's compared to all vacation payouts to state employees from July 2023, it goes back further until December 2022 until January 2025. And we have all this data available on our website. And most employees who got vacation payouts as high as this attorney, they were former agency leaders, but some former AG office staffers also got high payouts when they left the AG's office.
And how do you know about how many people got vacation payouts in the past few years, Kyle? Or just a round number?
Yeah, this happens a lot. We have data showing records of over 6,000 vacation payouts to former state government employees since December 2022. And just for reference, Idaho is about 25,000 state government employees, and these payouts can range all over the board. They can be extremely large figures, like over 20,000. That's a small pie of this overall vacation payout. There are some even as low as a few cents.
Hmm. So, to be clear, I mean, I want people to understand this. There is nothing wrong with getting this kind of payout. It is not illegal. It happens, as you said, with a lot of state employees who leave their jobs, whether they quit, whether they retire. So, what was it, Kyle, about this particular payout that caught your attention?
This caught my eye because it was a large vacation payout. And I later learned that it was the sixth largest of all state government employees recently. And I'd heard he only left the office really briefly. And I'd heard that's not how these vacation payouts typically work. So I started asking around to a bunch of state financial officers and looking for data to find other instances of similar vacation payouts.
And what did you find in that research?
What I found is that this is usually meant uh, to pay employees for this benefit they haven't used. So in many
Mm,
cases, employee who get vacation payouts usually just stop working for the state. Maybe they get a job in the private sector or they even retire. We go through a lot of those instances in our story of some large vacation payouts to employees who either stopped working for the state and retired or went to another job outside of the state. But I guess there's also differing standards for how these vacation payouts are supposed to work. And I think our story kind of highlights this rub and how
hmm
the Division of Human Resources is this agency that oversees all executive branch agencies under the governor's control. But there are also other types of agencies that are constitutional offices where they're headed by this elected official that it's elected separate from the governor. It's on its own ticket, and they lead that office. The Attorney General's office is one example of this, and they're not subject to the Division of Human Resources policy and what the Division of Human Resources says about standard practice. Um, so so they point out that the term separation, what it means to stop working for the state, isn't defined well in Idaho law, but
hmm.
they define it in a specific way of saying separation for at least one day to go can trigger the separation requirement
hmm
necessary to trigger this vacation payout.
I mean, you did find though that most people who go from one state job to another don't want to have that break in service. And what maybe sticks out about this is like they didn't go just from one state agency to another state agency. They stayed within the agency, just took a lower paying position. So I'm curious what the Attorney General's office had to say when you contacted them and asked them about this decision.
Yeah, so I gave the Attorney General's office a lot of heads up about our story and reached out a lot of time for comment, and they did not specifically address a lot of our questions. They sent me two statements that said that this attorney's payment, Stephen Olson's, was consistent with state law, and I can run through a little bit more about what they told me. They said that his situation is quote, legally indistinguishable to those previously approved by the Division of Human Resources and other state entities. They also told me that when Stephen Olson was being replaced as division chief in early 2023, that soon after Labrador took over as Idaho Attorney General, the first change in that elected office in 20 years, they said that this attorney, Stephen Olson, was given the opportunity to be rehired in the attorney position representing the Idaho Transportation Department, or ITD. They told me that Stephen took some time to decide whether he wanted to return to his employment with the state or pursue other offers he got. But
Hmm.
a month before he had even left the office formally, the office already announced publicly that he'd agreed to stay with the office in that new role as an ITD attorney. And again, he only stopped working there for the office for one business day before the AG's office rehired them. And just to be clear, they also didn't address many of our specific questions, and we detail more about that in the story. One question they didn't address is about whether Stephen Olson's relationship to politically connected individuals played a role in the Attorney General's office decision to award this vacation payout to him. So Stephen Olson's sister is Maria Nate, who's the Idaho State Director for the State Freedom Caucus Network, and her husband is Ron Nate, president of the Idaho Freedom Foundation.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Kyle, for coming in and talking to us about this. We've been speaking with reporter Kyle Pfannenstiel with the Idaho Capital Sun, talking about his recent story on a vacation payout to an attorney in the Idaho Attorney General's office. Now, again, as we said, nothing illegal about this, but certain things did catch Kyle's attention. So if you want to read more, we will put a link to Kyle's story on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. You've been listening to Idaho Matters from Boise State Public Radio. I'm Gemma Gaudet.
We're more than just podcasts and a radio station at Boise State Public Radio. We're a trusted resource and a lifeline for communities across Idaho. It's up to all of us to safeguard public media's future. You can learn more at protectmypublicmedia.org. Together, we can ensure that Boise State Public Radio remains a trusted resource for you and your neighbors for generations to come.